All right, tools you're going to need for the job to remove the lock mechanism on your RamBox, or at least the 4th gen. Need a Phillips head screwdriver, a T30 Torx bit, and a 10mm socket. And then I have goosenecks for removing the actual lock retainer ring itself. For removing all the adhesive, whatever your adhesive remover or tape remover of choice. Rubbing alcohol for me also. I used string or nylon string. You can use dental floss if you think it'll hold. I'm sure someone has a better idea, but leave a comment if you have a better way to remove the actual body panel itself. To help remove the adhesive on there, you can use a plastic scraper or like a trim tool. Unfortunately, I don't have any of that here. It's in my other shop. And so what I used was a carpenter pencil and just a wooden shim. To cut the tape, a pair of scissors, and to hold everything on, I had just regular old painter's tape. The key to this is going to be using 3M tape. What I used that worked was a 4950 double-sided 3M tape, and then 3M adhesive promoter number 111. Now, I ended up buying two 15-foot sections. If you were only going to do one strip on each lid, you can totally get away with just one roll. I decided to go overkill because I didn't want to have to do this again, and so I ended up using probably more like 23 feet total, so I just got 2 rolls of it. All right, so today what we're going to be doing is reattaching our RamBox paint panel, and the things we're going to be using are 3M 4950 double-sided tape, some 3M adhesion promoter, adhesive remover, some rubbing alcohol, some masking tape. I have leftover 3M double-sided tape from when I did the other side. It is about 4 days ago now. I had the same piece coming off, but fortunately it has holding, and it's been only about 100 degrees out for the last couple of days, and so we're going to go ahead and get started. The best way I have found to remove the double-sided tape that's in there is to slip that nylon rope behind the panel. Now at the bottom you got to be careful because it's actually hooked. Let's see how we can get you to see that. At the very bottom you can see there's a lip that mounts up underneath, and at the top it is not as hooked, but get that string and basically work it back and forth, and you can feel when you meet resistance. I found that if you go grab this end, kind of pull it forward as far as it'll go, and then take the top end and try to match it, and the pain in the butt part that's working that back and forth, tearing the current tape that's in there. So for the removal of the RamBox lock assembly, there are 3 10mm bolts, and then 2 Phillips head here and 2 Phillips head here. These two control the lock actuator, and for me it's easier if you remove those first to be able to get the lock actuator off of the plastic holder. But I'll show you that in 2 seconds. Now that we've removed all of these screws and bolts, we can remove the cover and reveal the lock mechanism. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and, this is why loosening this up was nice, is I can go ahead and unclip the retainer clips, and when you do that, it should drop away. We want to be careful that we don't break them. You can see that I have two different colors. These had already snapped in the past and from just regular usage. What I'm going to do is, to get this all out of the way, is take off the tape and then unclip this and just kind of move it out so it doesn't get slammed. What you want to be careful of is, now that we're starting to get to the lock assembly, you do not want to close this while you have this disassembled, because you're going to lock it and not be able to open it again. Ask me how I know. So once we remove the whole lock mechanism, you can actually reach in and push this to unlock it. But the second that this gets moved, you're not going to be able to unlock it unless you do some awesome stuff, which, again, ask me how I know. That was a pain, so we're not going to want to repeat that. So I'm going to keep it open until I remove the lock mechanism. What I first like to do is take a picture what the lock looks like when it's in the unlocked position, just so I can reference that before I put everything back together. The truck is unlocked right now, and so that is the position that it should be in for working the mechanism. Now this is a T30, and I'm going to go ahead and start taking that off. The reason you have to take this off is you're going to pull all of this out of the RamBox cover. Be careful not to drop anything. I have a great habit of doing that. If that stays put, the next thing I'm going to do is remove the ring, or the lock ring, and to do that I have some gooseneck pliers. Now I've gone ahead and loosen that up. I can slip those over, and this will now pop out the top. Now, obviously when we do this, it's easier if you have two hands, but there it goes. Now, this is when, if you accidentally lock it, you can reach in and push the piece that we just removed. And this is basically what you're feeling for to unlock it. Again, it can happen, and just you got to be careful that you don't, if you do lock it, you know where this is, or get a flathead screwdriver to be able to push that and make it unlock. Alright, so this is the most annoying part of the whole process. It's removing the panels. Now you can see at the bottom of this, it's kind of hooked where it meets up underneath the plastic cover, and at the top you really don't have that same look, but you can see that the only thing that held this on was double-sided tape at the very end, along the top, and in the bottom is this little hook that I guess acts as the retainer over the edge. What I do is I fish a string behind it, and that string, you got to be careful on the bottom around that hook, but I pull it up as far as I can get it on the bottom, and then on the top I just try to match it. And when you start meeting resistance, that's probably about where the adhesive is. I peel the end back just a bit and try to fish that string up, and I basically work it back and forth. And that's how we're going to try to tear some of that adhesive. And you literally, the best way I know how is just giving it a little bit of slack in the panel, hold it with one hand, and then try to peel back that adhesive. Now, it takes time and it takes patience, and this, like I said, is the most annoying and time-consuming part of this whole process. But you can see back there where it's already off the other side, starting here and starting to peel this back is the most annoying part. But you can see, hopefully, where that adhesive is already starting to peel, and that's how we're going to try to get in there with the string and just work our way back to the middle, slowly and carefully. If it's going to flex anywhere and crack, it's going to probably be here in the middle. So you just need to be careful as you are working your way back that you don't crack this panel, which is possible, but I haven't done it yet, but I can definitely see where it could happen. So literally what I'm doing is pulling this forward, and then I pull this back. And once again, it's easier if your other hand is supporting this as it goes, but the whole point is to get that angle and pull that rope, and as it goes, it's taking that, or cutting into the adhesive, which then allows you to get a little bit more of a purchase. And you just, once again, slowly and carefully and take your time, work your way back until you're at the point where it'll pop off. And when it pops off, it just straight pops, because all that's holding it in place, remember, is double-sided tape, and then along the top, and then the double-sided tape. And as stated, we've already gotten this side nice and loose because, you know, Ram was awesome when they put these things together. So right now, all that's really holding this still on is a little piece of 3M tape right there, and that's what we're trying to pop loose without trying to damage the panel. All right, once we get the line all the way through, you're going to be able to peel it back, and then it'll pop. Just remember, you have to pull it down a little bit because of that lip on the very bottom. But this is what's left over: a bunch of adhesive on the door itself, and all the stuff that we need to remove from the actual lid cover. You can see that on this side is just whatever gray tape that is. It comes off kind of easily for something you'd expect to be, you know, holding up to highway speeds. But the stuff that they have on here is even worse. This just peels right up, and once again, it doesn't seem like, if they wanted this to last, that you know, the stuff that they used just didn't seem like it's very good. Now, I'm not going to go into an in-depth explanation on how you remove all the double-sided tape that's on there, but what I used is a combination of rubbing alcohol. This says after, you know, adhesive remover. It's actually Goo Gone, just because I had another bottle of that was larger, and this was easier to move around. A little bit of heat, and what I use to actually scrape is just a piece of wood, whether that's just a shim or a carpenter pencil, and that worked best for this. And on the actual side body itself, I just used heat and kind of peeled it. Now, once you're done with everything, I'll get into that just a wee bit. We just got to make sure all of this is clean. I use the Goo Gone, and then after I use the Goo Gone, I rub back over it with the rubbing alcohol just to make sure that all of the residue from this is gone, and we have a good surface to then put the adhesive promoter on before we put the tape. But I'm going to go ahead and start removing, and we'll catch back up to you in a second. Alrighty, as you can see, I've gotten all of the adhesive off. You can see where they did scuff it up a little bit before they put whatever they had on, especially over here where it's a little smoother. You can see there's an actual notch, if you will, that kind of shows where they should have put the adhesive, and then they kind of got lazy and didn't put it there in the middle. But what we're going to be doing is putting one here, one across the entire top, and then another one kind of part way down just to help give it more stability. You could see while it's sitting up there, it doesn't actually sit flush all the way across, which is what I think part of the problem was. But as you can see on here, all the adhesive has been removed, and what we're going to do is put adhesive promoter over the entirety of it. And then same thing before we put the tape down on the actual paint panel itself, just to make sure that we get as much adhesion as we possibly can. What I'm going to do also is use a sanding sponge and scuff this up just to give it just a little bit more hold power. I'm going to do that across the sides, across the top, down the middle, and then I'm going to scuff up everything on this one also in the same area. I'm going to hit it all again with the alcohol just to make sure we get all the dust off, and then we'll get to putting the panel on. Okay, got all of that sanded and cleaned. Fitment note: as you can see, I'm just holding this up there, you have to kind of hook it in the bottom and then push up. But you can see we are locked in this corner, but as you go back, it hangs off and down. That's part of our problem on the fitment of these. If I push up on this side, the other side pops off, which is once again why the design of these is just absolutely terrible. Now, what I did note as you're putting this in, you're going to have to figure out where the center of your lock is. It does move around a little bit, but just kind of up and down, not forward and back. So you're going to have to figure out where it's centered and then come back up and say, okay, well, it's basically locked into the front, but the back, once again, here it is, it's lined up. The back hangs off some. So it's like that on the other side also. So when I go to put this on, what I'm going to do is get the front first, leave some of the backing on the adhesive, and then after I've pushed the front in, I'm going to have to peel that backing off and then set the rear, just so we do it at kind of in 2 stages. And the point of doing it in the 2 stages, once again, is so we don't accidentally glue or tape the rear in an incorrect position. Once we get that adhesive promoter on there, we kind of want to set and forget, and so we don't want to mess that up. So when we put that adhesive promoter on, I'm putting it in the areas that I want to have that tape, and I'll put 2 coats on it just to be sure, but as you can see, it evaporates pretty quick. And I'm going to do it once again. I'm going to do a strip on the bottom, up the side, and then all the way across the top. And then same thing on the other side, and then we are going to do the exact same thing and put this all over the lid itself, wherever we were going to put that double-sided tape. So you can't really put it in any wrong spots. You just want to make sure you don't miss any of the spots. So as I'm putting this 3M tape down, I'm making sure that I get good pressure and firmly make sure it is all the way along that line. I'm using it as the guide. You can kind of see right there, there's that little line in the plastic. That is from the original mark. This tape is wider than the original. And again, I am just pushing down and giving it pretty good pressure just to make sure that it gets good and sealed to the body panel. And once I get up over here, I'm not trying to push it down on my little screws there, but I'll move it down onto the towel and make sure that I get this piece also, and then I'm getting ready to put another piece right here. I'm going to do one final test fit, make sure I get the motion down of how I'm going to put this body panel on, remembering that once I get that front panel in, that tape is set and it's not going to come off. I got to start all over from the beginning. So one final practice, making sure I get the motion. I got to get that lock lined up, and then I'm going to peel off the tape from the back. Now for the front, once I start messing with the back, this tape's not going to be set yet, and so what I have pre-staged are some lengths of painter's tape. I'll tear off another couple, get those set, and then those are going to hold the front on while I do the rear end. Once I do the rear, I'm going to put the tape there also, and then put tape all the way down across just to make sure that we don't have any separation. The 3M tape says that it should seal, I want to say like 50% strength almost immediately, and then 24 hours it's at 90%. So there's nothing in here that I need. Once I get those the body tape on, I'm going to reassemble the lock, and once I reassemble the lock, I'm going to go ahead and shut this lid, tape the rear, and then tape the front down just so I don't get any air in there to try to get it separated and pulled away, and then it'll sit like that until tomorrow and we'll see the results. I'm sorry I don't have a video of it, but you can see that the panel is on. Again, I took the tape off the front end, put it up, cinched it down, and then used tape to hold it in place, and then peeled the adhesive or the tape cover off the back end, pushed the same thing up, and once it sat, then pushed made sure it was set all the way around, and I'm using masking tape to hold it into place. Now what I'm going to do is go ahead and open the box back up. I'm going to reassemble the lock, and then remember we took a picture of that just to be sure that we remember where everything went. And once we get everything in, close it back up. I'm going to seal the front, and then we're going to once again hope it holds better the second time. All right, so for me, you can see this little part number, maybe, don't know, that was faced down towards the bottom of the truck. So as I stick the lock back in, I'm going to make sure that that is oriented down. Then I'm going to get the locking nut and the retainer ring. I'm going to go ahead and put these back on and cinch it down. Next, we're going to put that piece back in that actually actuates the lock whenever you push the button. This is when taking that picture is helpful, as that is the lock position and this is the unlocked position. You just want to make sure that that big flat part in the unlocked position is going to push on here to actually unlatch your box. Remember, that's that Torx bit. All right, before anyone asks, I do not know what the torque is for the retaining nut for the lock, nor the Torx bit that goes in the back. I used Ugga-Duggas and made them both snug. They're not going to go anywhere. I'm going to test the function of the box lock itself. You can go ahead and push that latch shut and make sure it unlocks. That would mean that you hopefully, once you get everything reassembled, will actually be able to open your box. And if you want to, make sure that the lock works freely also. The next thing I'm going to do is take the box itself. I'm going to reattach the lock arm to the green tab, and then I'm going to plug the lock back in and run that back through the tape that we had already pulled up, and be right back. All right, one note, after you get this reattached, now is the perfect time, now that you can actually see the actuator, to line up to the mounting holes that are on the other side. Do that now. If you try to reassemble this back up into its place and then try to hit those screws, you're a better person than I am if you're going to be able to do that easily. So I'm going to go ahead and, while it's loose, tighten those up and then finish putting this assembly back onto the lid. All right, I know it looks absolutely ridiculous, but just have all that paint holding those body panels in, just to make sure that that 3M tape can work its magic. And I don't need anything out of this box. I'm gonna leave it on there for a day, and then so tomorrow, or 2 o'clock-ish, or maybe tomorrow evening, just to give it a little bit extra time, I'm going to pull it off, and it should hopefully hold as well as this one is, which I did 3 days ago, and as stated, it's held up to almost 100-degree days, and definitely been in the sun for most of it. So we're hoping that everything works out great. Thanks for watching. Now, I am by no means a bodywork expert nor anything other than a YouTube certified mechanic, but this is something that it's a 2016 truck, and I've been having problems with the RamBoxes when I purchased it in 2019. So I should have done this a long time ago. It's easy enough to do. Again, the most difficult part as far as difficulty was pulling the old panels off without breaking them, and then lining up the new ones to put them back on. But once again, patience is a virtue. Take your time with both, and it's completely doable. The longest part of everything was honestly removing all the adhesive off of the painted panel itself once it's on your workbench and you're actually removing the all that gunk. Everything else is very simple. Highly recommend doing it. Again, this was a 2016. I bought it with one of the panels that was loose. I drove it home from the dealer at night and didn't notice it till the next day. So that's on me. But with all the horror stories of everybody going back for the body work to have it done, and then it re-popping off 2 days later, again, I did the other one, and it's been a couple really hot days, like almost 100 degrees, and it's been baking in the sun. It's a black truck, so one thing leads to another. Knock on wood, it's holding strong, and you know, it's probably 88 today, lower humidity, and again, the 3M box said within 24 hours at 90% adhesion, and then at 72 it's at 100%. I'm going to leave the tape on for at least a day, just so it has a chance to set. And again, if you're at all hesitant, I'd say go ahead and do it. The worst thing that happens is you waste another set of 3M tape, and it was only like 10 or 15 bucks off of Amazon. So the adhesive promoter goes a long way, and so you have at least two chances with one roll of 15 foot, and unless you double it up, in which case I recommend two. I did not mention in my my list of things that you needed, I used a heat gun that helped get off some of the adhesive, and then obviously a sandpaper of some sort to scuff up the surface before you put the stuff on. Hope you enjoyed the video, and best of luck.